Hi, everybody. Welcome to a Saturday morning Marketing Smarties episode. October 1st, is it? Is this the 1st of October? It's our march to the holiday of Halloween. So, hi, my name is Roland. We're having fun. And I know it's morning here, just barely, and we'll be walking through the last hour of the morning, but it could be afternoon, it could be evening, it could be the middle of the night where you are. And if that's so, I expect you'll be watching the replay. But I mean, it's Saturday. You might be very busy, and I don't demand that anybody watch the show. Of course, would it do any good if I demanded that you watch the show? But I'm happy if you watch the show live. I'm happy if you watch the replay. And our main goal is to provide an education format in the show that allows you to interact and communicate with us your ideas and your feelings and your questions. And hopefully, we add to the knowledge base of what we are doing in internet marketing. So that's basically what we do. But I'm not alone in the green room today. We have an additional surprise, but the first thing is that Molly Youngblood Geiger is not with us, and she may very well pop in at any time. But she is returning from the Google event that we want a full report on, so we're going to be asking her for one. But even if she comes in today, it's going to be very brief. And by next week, we're going to actually dig in and talking about the ramifications of what she discovered, what she can share with us, because indeed she probably signed a waiver that says she can't talk about anything. But we're just definitely looking for some clues on how her knowledge and her experience will influence what we think about the future of internet marketing and streaming media. So those of those who actually made it today, and we'll talk about the audience in a second, but the green room constituents, my co-host, my weekly co-host from San Francisco, is a marketer, and her name is Karen V. Chin. Say hi, Karen.
Hi, Mark. I'm Martin. I always call you Martin for some reason. I still do that. I'm so sorry. It's called Sunday. It's not even Sunday. It is Saturday. It is 11 o'clock in the morning, and I have not had my cup of coffee yet. So I
Oh,
apologize
no.
for all of that. Yes, I am. Yeah, this is water at this moment. I think I need some caffeine. Yes, I am Karen Chin. I am out here in the San Francisco Bay Area. And yes, I am a marketing consultant slash social media engager. I am so excited to be back here this week, and I'm looking forward to our topic and our special guest that's sitting right next to me here in the green room.
It sounded in a way that you were trying to convince yourself of the things that you were declaring. um, but rest assured, you carry the credential that you're naming. So yes, we have to tell you who else is in the green room today. His name is Bill Graham and has his own project called Bill Does Belize. And he's well known for being an authority on if you want to relocate to the island and the island country of Belize, you should be talking to him. But right now, he's going to come in and help us with comment tracking, and he's been doing his research. So a little bit about yourself, Bill. Say hi.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Bill Graham, as Roland said. My website is billdoesbelize.com, and my website's not so much to promote Belize as a tourist destination, but rather to provide unbiased information, or as I like to say, I provide the unbelievable truth to help people thinking about making a permanent move, to get answers to the questions they have, and hopefully answer some of the questions that they don't think to ask. And I'd just like to say today that I'm really glad to join the panel for two reasons. First of all, I look forward to contributing to the conversation when that makes sense. But secondly, I'm really happy to be part of a solution to help Roland and the rest of the panel to answer the big question in Hangout community lately, and that's how do we bring engagement back to these events. So to that end, today we're combining YouTube live stream with unified chat, and of course, incorporating Google Slides. So we're hoping everybody will contribute, share your ideas, and we appreciate if you do that. And
Hey, Bill, I got a question for you, just for the audience. Can you tell us where is Belize?
Belize is Belize is the most northeasterly country in Central America. It's south of Mexico. It's west. It's bordered by Mexico to the north, Guatemala to the west and the south, and the Caribbean Sea on the east. And the entire country has about 400 cays or islands, two of which that are inhabited. And the entire country, including the mainland, is about the size of New Hampshire, with a population of just over 300,000. So we're not a huge country.
And what's your time zone difference between us and California?
We're central, so but we don't do daylight savings here. The days are always 12 hours long. So we don't do that hour thing, but it's still confusing to me because everybody else in the world does it.
Because where are you originally from, Bill?
I'm originally from Ontario, Canada.
Okay, so I happened to grab this so I can show everybody. A map of Central America is right here, and because everyone has heard the term Central America, but not everyone actually knows what it is constituted with. And so if we were to like look at this, and your description was the northernmost or the
Northeasterly most.
northeasterly. Yeah, so if everyone were to look at this and watch for my my moving icon, my hand, this is Belize, a little green country right there. So that's where you live, basically, within a couple hundred miles of my hand pointing on the map there.
Yeah, I don't see your star. I don't see your hand, but we're just just west of the star.
Got it. Okay. So, and are you're not on the mainland now, or you are on the mainland?
I am on the mainland now. We started out on Ambergris Caye, which is the largest and most populated island. But no, we've moved to the mainland since last March.
Cool. Well, anyway, we're glad to have you. We've been working. Bill and I have been working on the side to potentially produce a couple of facilitators to make chat a reality, and it's convoluted because of course we are not programmers. We're not designing comment tracker. We're not doing that, but we are using some facility that is presented to us, and is free, but it is. I use the word convoluted. It takes a little bit of work to get this done, and that's one of the reasons that I was really happy to bring Bill on, because he is technically sound when it comes to the manipulations. It takes that, because when you're working with one or two monitors and several windows open at a time and try to control what you're presenting, you have to be organized and you have to know how to work with windows. And so many people will be watching something that I'm sharing with them, or we'll be in a hangout together, and they'll say something like, "Oh, where did you go? You disappeared." It's like, I didn't disappear. I'm still here. It's just that you're hiding behind another window so you can't see the hangout window. And it doesn't even make sense necessarily to cover it that way. But that in reality explains the plight that they're experiencing. And this is something that we're going to go over more and more as time goes on, because people need to know how to use the basics of their computer. And I don't think it's that different for an Apple computer, although there are differences. And but when it comes to Windows and dealing with the Hangout spread out and the details of what you're trying to add to a Hangout and the various laminations and things are open like that, you have to know how to organize yourself. Otherwise, you get online and it's like, oh, what the heck? I'm a doofus trying to produce something smart, you know. And of course, I've been there and done that myself, and I accept the fact that sometimes I look like a doofus. That's the way it goes. And people have come to the conclusion that Yeah, Roland does that sometimes. It's all right. He recovers gradually, and he hasn't lost his mind. So, anyway, we're dealing with the concept of Hangouts for the purpose of small business to present what they want to present in Hangouts live streaming the very best way it can be done. And Blab came and went, and various things are happening. People are talking about appear in and various things, but everything has its difficulty. Either you can't record it, or if you can record it, it doesn't load up to YouTube automatically, or something. There's always something. Limited to two people, broadcast only, no interaction. There are all kinds of things that Hangouts brings to the table automatically from half a decade ago that no one else has been able to best. No one else has made improvements on the concept of what Hangouts is. Now, there are recently a couple new things coming out, and they're going to be sufficiently challengers for this Hangout concept. As a matter of fact, the Google suite that they call the G Suite, which I think I hold in a little bit of contention for their choice of terminology, but they call it the G Suite, and it's a new name for the Google the G plus no the Google for Work concept. I'm not a subscriber. That's why I'm having trouble with the title, and shows you that their branding isn't all that good. But Google for Work is all these various apps, the documents or documents, slides, sheets, and various things that very effectively replace what is built up into the Microsoft Word suite. And arguably, it might be a lot better than the Microsoft Word suite. So it's very contentious. I think that if people learn Google Docs, they'd be miles ahead in everything that they're doing. So I pretty much have given up on Microsoft Word and the Word processes, because everything that you've done in the Microsoft products, you can import into Google Docs and they'll work just fine with, if needed, very minimal adjustment. But they're pretty much translatable.
Because it's also really cool, because when you use Google Docs, I mean, no matter what you're working with, you can easily go back and forth with Microsoft Word. So it's not like, oh, if you're using, Google products, you can't necessarily use Microsoft products, because Google's done such a great job with the integration that
Right.
It actually makes it a lot easier. Plus the fact that you can also work, what I like about Google Docs is that you can do a lot of real-time collaborative work on the same document with people from literally around the world. They just have to be up at the same time as you are, but you literally can actually work together on a project all online and actually see the changes in corrections, right then and there.
Right. And it's like WeWake made a little video on that. It was like everybody was making changes to a document and emailing the document with their changes to the one person who was collating all the information, and then he made a new document with the information, but one person was missing, so she wasn't able to contribute. It's like, oh my God, it got all so fouled up. The thing about Google Docs is when you're collaborating on a document, you may be together at the same time, you may be together at your own individual's time, but you can alter the document on the spot, and it changes for everybody if everyone's accessing the same document. So you can effectively collaborate where it wasn't even possible quite the same before, without paying some bucks to get a specific app to conduct this interaction.
Yeah.
So
I would imagine that when you were working, especially with Vivek, that you literally can see the red line of what his changes are or his additions, and also with the fact that Google also lets you comment, and you can actually see what the changes are or what their thoughts are before they even make the changes. So to
Right.
me, and you get the notifications when someone makes a change, which is in a lot of ways. I mean, I used to be a big Microsoft person and did a lot of redlining using Track Changer, but this whole thing with Google Docs and what you can do with it, I mean, the power is just endless.
Yeah. And there's some really interesting news coming up regarding the the G Suite
Mm-hmm.
or the Google for Work, and that is that they have already decided to integrate Google Hangouts with Google for Work. Now, that makes it's pretty interesting that they would take Google Hangouts on air and divert it over to YouTube, and then within the Google framework for their Google for Work and the Google Suite, the G Suite concept, actually have Hangouts integrated as part of the core services, and they're aiming it in order to concentrate it as a business tool for collaboration, and they're going to allow upwards of 50 people to participate in a hangout at one time. Now, I don't know exactly what they mean by 50 people participating in a hangout at one time. I can't imagine trying to coordinate. Yeah, I can't imagine trying to coordinate 50 people with 27 hands raised and 5 voices sounding off at the same time. Yeah, so is it practical? I don't know. But they have some new ideas, and it's promising to know that they're going to actually integrate some new form of Hangouts into the G Plus suite
Do
or the
you
G
think
Suite.
do you think that, Roland, with Hangouts, do you think that maybe there'll be different packages or price points? I mean, if for 50, that's a lot, and maybe that's maybe there's a charge to that versus maybe back to where Hangouts used to be for us, where, if you had, no more than 10, it's free, but after that, then there was a charge.
I think that they're going to give Hangouts on Air, as they did to YouTube, a free reign to do what they do within the framework of what those Hangouts on Air offer. But I think what they're developing for the G Suite is a pretty much an exclusive tool that is part of their core services. So it won't be a charge to add it on. It'll just be one big reason that people buy the suite. And because obviously it's an important tool of video collaboration that is unrestricted in geolocation. Um, that's huge. People can go on vacation or go on international meetings and still make the meeting every Monday that they have, even though they're traveling and this type of thing. And I think that it's going to be very powerful. And the fact that they're incorporating it into their core services, to me, spells out that it's very, very important. Whether or not the features that they're offering to the G Suite people will ever translate out to like a Hangout on Air feature, that I don't know. I don't know if it'll ever affect. It might be two different publications. It might be two different developments completely, and never the twain shall meet. We might be talking about the evolution of two different products completely.
Well,
So we'll find out.
we got a really great comment from Vivek out there in the UK. He's watching us, and he basically said, because he is actually a rising star out there in the UK for Google, that Google tools are built for collaboration from the ground up. Microsoft tools are adopted for cloud computing. That makes a big difference.
Yeah, so um, yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And Wake is like the leader in the Google apps world, and he does some teaching and training on how to use those tools. So he's one to look towards, right, for sure. Here's what he actually says there. Google tools are built for collaboration from the ground up. Microsoft tools are adopted for cloud computing. That makes a big difference. So really it's like the purpose comes back to the purpose of what we are intending. And obviously, Microsoft is a private corporation designed around bottom line profit, and Google is designed completely differently. They are about profit, but that's not their front runner as far as what they give to the world. So
Yeah.
it's a totally different spirit.
Now, Roland, just to remind you that that comment I had highlighted there, but you have to remember to white box it, otherwise you talk right over it.
Right. And that's just a little something that we'll have to get used to there.
Yeah.
So thank you for reminding me on that. We're working with this new concept, and you might notice some changes to what it was last week. And if you notice those changes, you might comment on them. So let's see how astute the people are who are watching. So I'll show it to you one more time, and then people can look at that and tell us if they see any changes, what they see from last week. But the good thing is that the comment shows up very well.
And Roland, I think Vivek also has a second comment that Bill will show up in just a second. That says basically Hangouts are not part of the core services for the G Suite. Only G Plus is part of the core services. So I think there's going to be probably some fees.
It could be. But of course there are already fees. There are already fees because Google for Work, or the G Plus, the G Suite, is already part of the whole thing that you have to pay for to get. So you can't get the new Google Hangout application for Google Apps if you are not part of the G Suite. So to me, they're already charging. So they said Hangouts are not part of the core services. I think they are. I think that if I read the last article that I saw just yesterday, Hangouts specifically are part of core services for the G Suite.
Have you white boxed that comment?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, because I don't see it coming up on the screen.
How about now?
It's white boxed.
So we'll see. We'll see what happens. It'll be interesting to follow up and dissect out exactly what I read and what I interpreted. But as far as I could tell, they were really implying that Google Hangouts in particular, and specifically the Hangouts as improved by Google to be a part of the part of the G Suite, and they weren't saying because Google Plus or because G Plus is part of there was not that qualification. They simply said that the Hangouts were going to be part of the core services. So maybe I misinterpreted that, and we'll find out, and I'll report back. It's a very good point, Wake, so we'll find out. And anyway, these are the things that we've been dealing with lately, and we're actually showing you and demonstrating a couple of things that we've come up with that are pretty much firsts in the Hangout world. So we'll see if they have any lasting effect, and if not, if they actually come up with something better for us to use in Hangouts, we'll adapt and use that, and we'll keep Bill around to keep on comment tracking for us. And because the one thing that I know is that Bill is not just a technical comment tracker. There's a really good brain working back there, and I want his comments either way. So we're going to welcome him as an addition to the Smarties show for every Saturday for the oncoming days. So that's the news, and the news wouldn't be the news without the news, and that's it. So anyway, what we want to achieve for today in this next 35 minutes or so is allow people to comment and challenge me on some concepts. But I've got some things already written. They're pre-written before the show. And if you change my mind on something, I will literally rewrite my PowerPoint and present that and adjust my thinking and adjust my concept. But that's going to be kind of hard to do because I'm so opinionated. But what we're going to do is I'm going to bring up a question, and then I'm going to ask my panel members, both Bill and Karen, if they have any comments or thoughts regarding that. And we're going to ask the people in the audience to please comment, because we're experimenting with Comment Tracker. But beyond that, we want to know what you think. And there are a couple of marketers that have been in the business for a long time out there, and they're actually, their opinions are valued to me. So comment away, bring up the things that you think I'm missing, and tell me where you think I'm wrong, and then I will present at the end of a short discussion my concepts of what I think about these things. I'll answer my own question, but only after people have talked me into the ground. So I'm going to share my screen in just a second. Karen, did you have something?
Yeah, actually, Vivek has realized he actually made a oops. And if Bill could show that last comment from Vivek, it basically says, oops, you're right, Roland. Hangouts is part of the core services for the G Suite, but Hangouts on Air is not, because it's linked to YouTube.
Correct. And I didn't make that very clear, but I tried to. So yeah, the G Suite announced Hangouts. They did not say Hangouts on Air, which implies the broadcast concept. So the Hangouts is something that they're building into the G Suite as a collaborative tool that is definitely for businesses wanting to hold meetings online.
Yeah, which I think totally makes sense when you think of it in those terms. And I can now see having 50 people be on it when you're talking about having kind of a closed session. And I mean, when you think about having 50 people all online, I mean, that's going to save also just a lot of travel time for people. And the idea that you can actually gather people probably in a much quicker way when you think about it than if you actually had to get everybody into the same room.
A time saver, really, really practical tool. I mean, it's definitely part of the future. It's going to be a cutting edge tool, and it's part of the core services. So you can't say it's free, but it's definitely probably one of the most reasonable things that the world is offering right now. So got to hand it to Google, and I'm clapping with my one hand to say that I approve. Now, whether or not the features of the Google, the G Suite Hangouts extrapolates out and becomes something offered by the Hangouts on Air, I have my doubts. But I don't know if I actually care, because if they actually leave Hangouts alone and don't screw it up so that it becomes less than it is right now, then I'm reasonably happy with Hangouts on Air and YouTube. And there are things that we're conquering, like the plus naming is gone, and so we're having to work around that and kind of like just swallow it, you know. And there's also invitations, communications, notifications. That was a big, huge loss, but we're just going to have to figure out a way to compensate and do it better. So the concepts are, we have to drive people to our own communities or our own websites. So there are people working on that now, and we're going to come up with something for you guys. So let's get over to the PowerPoint now and start asking the questions. Everybody said okay? How's it going, Bill? Okay, good. So here's what I want to show. First of all, I'm going to, let's see. So the questions revolve around one really easy concept, and that is this: what three things? Now, when I name a subject, and we will name the first subject momentarily, for any subject, three things should stand out as most important. Now, granted, there are going to be 5 things, there are going to be 7 things, there's going to be a list of 100 things. But whatever it is, 3 things, I'm convinced that everything is based on the very simple principles of what you need to get started. Because if you don't get started on the right foot, everything that you build on a weak foundation is going to fall. So what I'm talking about, the three things that are really most connected to the concept of the foundation that become the most important that you must remember in any concept. So here's the first concept. What three things? Now, these things can be processes or practices or principles. So it might be something, a tool. It might be something that how you use the tool, or it might be the reason that you use the tool and what you're trying to achieve. So that's why we have processes, practices, or principles. And it's usually a combination of two or more of these things. So here's the first one. Maybe. What three things are most important for your website? Okay, now I'll take off the screen share for now. Obviously, we've had concepts of websites going on since day one. And it's like the key hub focus on what everything that I teach is like you have to have a website.
So Roland, when you're talking about these three things on your for your presentation, you're talking about what businesses need today to succeed.
Absolutely. It wouldn't,
okay.
Well, why would it pertain to yesterday's businesses?
I just wanted to make sure that the audience was kind of clear, because when you say three things, what do you mean by three things? What does this pertain to? We're talking about business for today, correct?
I'll give you the clue, okay? The first thing and my second thing and third thing are not necessarily as similar in nature as the first thing. But the first thing is you got to have a responsive website. So I'm putting my first answer out there in front of you. But if I were to put it to either of you, what would you say a website needs? And it may not just be the way it's found, the foundation of how it's designed. It might be something completely different. But what do websites need? And we're asking also this question to WeWake and to Roland out there. What does a website need? What are the three most important things?
Content, contact information, right? The ability to actually have a conversation if you need to, or to have them find you. I would imagine that would be one of the two of the most important things. And the third for a website would be the ability for it to download quickly.
Okay, so the nature of the actual functionality, that's a good one. That's a good one. Because if you build something and it has everything you need, but it loads like a dog, and people can't watch it, they're never going to stick around to see it. So that's a really good point. So Bill has something that he's showing here. Roland, the most important thing, I think that she meant important. The most important thing to me is what outcome is being looked for. Okay, so she's talking about the principle. And if you analyze what the outcome is that you're intending, that conducts everything. That decides the design factor, that determines exactly what you're going to offer and how you're going to process the person. WeWake has a comment. Why is the most important thing? Why is the most important thing? In other words, the questioning of why, getting down to the intention behind everything that you're doing. But I have to ask, but I have found that asking why annoys most people. They even find it arrogant or rude if someone asks that question. And we're going to dig into this for just a minute.
So it sounds to me then is it content? Is it contact information? Is it the actual download speed, but also search capability, that your website can be found, and which I think is key when you think about with all the SEO and the PPCs and just all that out there. That's a whole different topic, mind you, but the ability for your website to be found. With on top of everybody else's out there in the world, can you be found online? That is, I think, key for a business.
That makes sense. And Roland asks, who is the website? Who is the site speaking to? In other words, who's your client? What is your intention? And who wants to hear your message? These are all really important things. So let's get back to the things then that, Bill, did you have anything to add?
Bill, you're muted.
Yeah, sorry, I was 3 screens away. No, I agree with all of that stuff. I think the most important thing is to be natural, create content that's helpful and useful, and employ. I mean, our website is only a small part of what we do. Our social media is another small part of what we do. So we have to incorporate a bunch of small little things and try and do as much right as we can in each area. And I think in my case, I found that just trying to be helpful, putting out content all the time that's helpful, working a little bit on SEO, working a little bit on all of these other things, eventually you'll be found. And I think it's better to be found organically than to use keyword stuffing or a lot of the things where we can game the system, because you're going to get a lot of followers, but they're not going to be focused, and they're not going to be concentrated on what you're doing.
So Bill, what you're saying is then not only are you producing good content, but what you're producing is what people find value, which then you then become your own subject matter expert, as you are with BillDoesBeliefs.com.
Yeah, well, producing good content doesn't mean that it's grammatically correct or that it's written, better than the next guy's. I think producing good content is recognizing people's problems and solving their problems. And that's what I try to do. I try and go on to the forums that relate to my topic, see what questions people are asking, and answer the questions on that forum, but also in my website. And I don't know if that's right or wrong, but that's what I do, and I find success with.
Yeah, I mean, if it works for you, Bill, I mean, that's what the key is. I mean, everybody has a little bit of a different take on it, but when it comes down to it, it's not cookie cutter, right? I mean, the fact that you've been spending, I know, a lot of time trying to figure out what to do down there in Belize and how to market yourself, and taking from what you call the experts and then applying it to yourself sometimes doesn't necessarily work as, a plan from A to Z, but those bits of between A to Z, except maybe P, maybe Z, maybe Q, works for you.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, there's tons of courses out there that'll give you 7 steps to growing your email list to 10,000 in a week, or 7 steps to unlimited engagement. And I mean, who, not to be rude here, but who wants unlimited engagement? I think we want concentrated and focused engagement, and people that are looking for what we're authorities in. I don't like to use the word expert because that kind of implies we know everything about something, but I like to use the word authority because I think an authority is anyone who knows more than I do.
This is really a great conversation, but it's only 1/4 of my subjects here. And I think that what determined that delivering value in your content, however it is important. You must be relevant to your subject, and you have to deliver this stuff, and you most certainly have to be accessible. So those are some important things. Let's see what my final lineup of 3 things was here. Let's go with the share. And the first thing, as I said, was responsive design. The second thing is mobile microfocus. In other words, it's the state of mind where people are really moving towards the mobile focus. So you have to have the concept of who's watching, which is something that Roland that brings up. Who are we speaking to? Well, we're speaking to the mobile user now, not just websites. So we've been saying it for a year now, mobile first, but not only. And I think that it still holds true right now, that we have to design with a mobile mind in mind. And which means it's not going to be an encyclopedia. Our subject has to be focused on completing one conversion that leads people on to the rest of what you know, what you do and provide, and eventually it's going to lead to the sale. But the concept of whatever you produce online is meant to make a connection that will grow. So that's why I put mobile microfocus. The third one that I put is, oops, I missed that. I kind of screwed up my slides, but anyway, the second one was supposed to be my third one. identifying yourself and having complete contact information in the first freaking page is ultra important. I mean, nowadays, mobile users and internet users in general know what they're looking for. So when they get to you, it's like, how do I contact this person? Okay, they'll look at your website either on mobile device or on the computer, and they look at it briefly and they go, yeah, this guy does what I'm looking for. Okay, how do I contact him? They want to go right to the source and do what they intend to do. And they don't want to be sold stuff. They don't want to read a bunch of stuff. They don't. They might watch videos, which is a really good thing because they get a really concentrated dose of what you're talking about in just a minute flat or whatever. So they might watch. They're going to watch videos, and the proof is that they open videos much more often than anything else. So you want to use video, which basically takes us on to some other subjects. But before we get to video, we're going to take what my next subject is. So as we're moving on to this, hang on now. Okay, we're going to move on to the next one, and that is what is the most important for social media. So social media is a big scoop, a big scoop, and it's literally as big as the website discussion, because a lot of people are going straight to social media and don't even have a website. They've got a social media fan page or a product page of some kind, and they don't even have a website. Now, I think that's a mistake myself, but some people say you don't need a website. Well, if they have success, that's great, however they get it. But as far as
Roland, do you think it's because when you believe for a website, is that so you're able to collect email addresses? I mean, is that what the importance is to a website, in your opinion?
No, I think that's only a small part of it. I think an email address is important so that you can repeatedly contact information. Is it the only way? I don't have an email list. I'm probably going to build one because I can't think of a better way to implement invitations to my events than if I have a focused client, a group of people with their emails on a list.
Mm-hmm.
And that may become a better invitation system than anything else, unless you wanted to subscribe to like Webinar Jam or Business Hangouts on Air, something like that that has an invitation system built in. But then we're talking $10 a month or more to rent the services that supply these things. Let's see what Bill has to say. He's bringing up a comment here. Lowell Ann Fulsang, I attended a local Google Partners meeting this week. Main focus was on importance of mobile and responsiveness. So she confirms that we're pretty much on mark with this, and the importance of call to action very visible on the homepage. I agree. So that's all part of this ability to contact concept. If you have a call to action, it's going to be focused on the micro-focused subject of what your website should be exposing via this mobile website. And if you can't hit every concept, like for me, I do a lot of things. On my front page for a mobile website, I can't have, call me if you need web design, call me if you need social media work, call me if you need some video work, because people are going to look at that and say, well, this guy's all over the place. What the heck is going on? But if I hit a subject that is key to all three categories, or to the most people, or to the largest cross section of my clientele, and focus on that, that's my best bet. So that's what everyone else should be doing too. Let's see, there's one more comment being made. We wake. Study published by Google says that they have found that lots of people now start their engagement on one device, maybe mobile, but then may complete their engagement by stuff. I'm not sure what he means. On another device. Oh, I see. They might actually see their stuff on a cell phone, but go home and buy from their computer or something.
Mm-hmm.
So they are looking at engagement on multiple devices. Well, that that pretty much spells out what I've been talking about for uh, a year now, that people start on mobile phone, but it is not the only way they engage. And so for people to preach that mobile engagement is the thing and the only thing, that is actually a mistake. But the lives of people are integrated where they move from device to device, and they're smart enough to know that each device has its ability and its focus, and they use them appropriately for what they need them to do. Luckily, the phone accompanies the person day in, day out, 24/7 if they want to, and everywhere they go, they've got their phone. So at the base level, the odds are people are going to be searching on their phone. But if they need more information, it's very possible that they're going to switch to a tablet, a laptop, or a desktop. So we have to keep these things in mind. Mobile first, but not only. Thank you for the comments out there, and I'm really liking the comment system, and I appreciate Bill greatly. So I would like some people in the audience to comment on what they think of the comment system and whether they think it's something that we should continue to pursue, because indeed we're going to probably invest more time in this.
Mm-hmm.
But let us know what you think about it and what it affects you on the viewer's end whatsoever. So moving on now, what I discovered about social media and what I press forward as my three things. Ready? And engagement's the first thing in social media. Is simply, I'm there to engage people. People usually think, where can I place ads, or how can I get people to come to my stuff? And one of the first things I learned was, if I want people to come to my stuff, I've got to go to their stuff, and I have to participate where the people are already talking about the subject and involve myself there. And if I can't hold my own in the conversation in other people's environments, I have no business inviting people to mine to say, I'm the authority, you should come talk to me. But if you go to another environment, another community, another group, and start talking there, and people start asking, hey, that was really good, what you just said, I appreciate that. Now, who are you again, and where do you come from, and what's your website? They start asking that. That is the value of the engagement that you can do in social media. It's not about the advertising, because as we've said time and time again, 80% of the advertising is dissed by social media users. It is utterly rejected. So you could actually be hurting your presentation as opposed to building it. Thank you, Bill. And the next thing that I put for social media is the concept of building relationships. Now, you can realize when I'm doing this, there's no strategy or tactic involved. I'm talking very big generalities, but these are principles that should be behind everything that you do in social media. And if you are not focusing on engagement, and if you are not building relationships, then you really shouldn't even be in social media trying to build something for your business. That's my opinion, and I could be wrong. And call me on the carpet if you like, but that's what I feel. Now, along with this is the one more refinement in the building relationships, and that is building community. Now, you can go join other communities, but the ultimate goal is to build your own community. So go and engage people, bring them to your own community, build some worthwhile relationships. The one thing that we learned in Google Plus was that we could build really, really valuable relationships. And part of that was because of the interactive capability of Google Plus Events and Google Hangouts, and just the overall things that Google gave us free and set us up with, basically taught us that these things were possible. Now we're just having to expand out what the tools removed and start to build the whole thing over by ourselves. But we know it's possible. We know it can be done. We're just going to find the tools to do it. And basically, nothing should stop us from doing these things. I think that it's all going to happen It's just that we're going to have to build a few bridges and carve a few new roads, but it's going to work just fine. So that's the second subject. And unless anyone has anything to end, we're going to probably move on to the third subject. How you doing? Okay, everybody okay? We've only got 10 minutes to cover these, so I'm going to move on.
You got 2 more questions. You got to get it through. 9 more minutes.
Well, we're probably going to go over time, and that's kind of like my cushion that I know there. Okay, the third concept is, what 3 things are most important for your video campaign? And it's a totally different thing, right? I mean, when we're saying social media, as soon as we say video, you may have been thinking about, oh, I'd add video to my posts, and I'd add a Facebook Live video, and I could do a little bit of broadcasting from Facebook, and so forth. But video campaign is much bigger than Facebook Live, or it's bigger than YouTube even. However, YouTube is really central to a lot of what I think video campaign. So let's talk about video campaign a little bit, and what things come to mind as the most important things when you're considering a video campaign. You're on, Karen.
No.
Oh, nothing to say. Come on now, you got to.
You're asking me the question what I think is important for a video campaign.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You were talking, and then all of a sudden you asked me, I'm like, huh? For me, I think a video campaign, the 3 in my mind that come to me quickly are that the video itself is it gets to the point very quickly. I mean, what you need to say has to be said within the first 3 seconds so that you can continue with that engagement, so that someone will continue watching it. So that's one. 2, I think the next one would be, for me, in terms of a video campaign, and I think it's more, again, the outreach of where you place that campaign at, how you reach those audiences, because you can film it, you can have it, but you need to figure out what to do with the link itself and where does it go. And that intertwines again with social media and your social channels of getting that message across, because you can just create this beautiful thing, but if you can't get the message out, you're not going to have a campaign. I mean, I see that more of a distribution. And then lastly, I think for a video campaign, for me would be a success is back again to what you said is the engagement, in terms of people talking about it, and then hopefully making it and having it become viral.
Absolutely. And we can get into a big discussion on why people share and what is involved there. But before we go further on this concept of video, I wanted to bring this up because it raises me back up on the pedestal that I was on briefly when I was going nuts. And Roland Fulsang says, "You're a soapbox on social media, Roland. Love it." And so true. Thank you, Roland. Let's see, what else? We wake. Advertisements used to be the only tool available when the internet was not so omnipresent. But it takes time for the majority of people to realize this. Yes, and you're very you're correct about that. And the concept of advertising is yesteryear's methodology. It's just over, and it's going to take probably another several years for the rest of the internet to realize it. Because even though they were saying another year or 2 from now, they'll be saying, yeah, advertising is dead, and they'll still 40 or 50% of the people will still continue advertising. Or I don't think advertising is ever going to go away. It's much too powerful a tool, and there are much too many people out there that don't give a crap about the people and just want the buck in the exchange. So advertising is not going away, but the opportunity involved today is that a very, very small business can build relationships on a one-to-one basis and start building some traction and foothold and momentum that will build their business in something fruitful if they keep at it. And that's the magic and the possibility of what today represents.
Well, I think, though, for advertising in general, the way the world is changing at this moment is, I mean, people are not looking at advertising in the traditional sense anymore. Advertising, it has to literally tell a story, and it has to tell a story within literally 15 seconds to get someone to totally understand what is being advertised in that concept, and again, whether or not you want to share that advertisement to others. So I think advertisers are realizing that social media, video campaigns, the medium itself, the visual medium, is so much more critical than it's ever been in terms of getting your message across.
Absolutely. So methodology and styling is very important, and we're going to cover this in a second. Hopefully I might have covered a couple of the marks, but Roland Full saying video needs to be entertaining in some way. Very true, because if the video concept or the content in the video does not entertain, in other words, put a smile or a shock or a frown or something on the people watching, they're not going to hold any value to it. So it has to evoke emotion, and the most common one is humor, laughter, because your mind could be anywhere and you see something funny and that's going to catch you. You're going to laugh, and that's one that's used most commonly, perhaps. And then the puppy dog thing and the little kids petting the puppy dogs, that's the second one. This adorable look of, oh, gee, that's so cute. That kind of emotion there. The loving emotion of parents to kids, kids to animals, kids and animals all mixed, and that type of thing is very predominant. So the trick is to take a subject that you tell a story with and turn it into a good reason to advertise for your business, and make the concept of the emotional transformation of what goes on in your video the reason that the company did the video. So it's pretty hard to make the connection sometimes, but people can do it, and they are doing it more and more.
Yeah, and if I could just interject, I think it's just a matter of, and it's important to be authentic to what you're producing and what you like. My videos typically are maybe not that entertaining, but I use Google Hangouts, for example, to share procedures, maybe how to open a bank account. And I love to be able to take screen share, put up that document, and be able to explain it to people. So that may not be entertaining in the laugh sense of the word, but it's informative, and it's falling in line with what I promised to do, which is to answer the questions that people need to know. One of my most popular videos was one that I did right after Hurricane Earl hit here on August 4th, and our local river was rising at a rate of 6 inches per hour and rose almost 15 feet. And so, I mean, that one kind of had the sense of shock and awe, but again, I guess the entertainment value was in the shock and awe.
Well, yeah. I think it goes back to Loanne. She just made a comment, maybe adding controversy. People love to watch that. So I think, Bill, I mean, even in the situation that you're in, people want to see, water rising it's because of the danger. I think that in itself, but I also think too, and I think, Bill, you probably can testify this, is also when it comes to all of this, back to that whole engagement and building relationships, to get your message across. To basically have your raving fans to basically push that message, because you can create, beautiful campaigns, beautiful social media, but if no one's following you or no one's engaging with it or no one's sharing it, it's just going to be, an egg where it just lays on the ground and just goes like this, because you're not going to be able to get your message out there.
Yeah, well, and getting your message out there, I think, is being consistent and being persistent, and not worrying about the numbers. Forget about all these vanity things about how many views am I getting, how much followers am I getting, how many subscribers am I getting. Just keep putting it out there. I mean, I spent the first year wondering, was I ever going to be found? And eventually it started to happen. And as people started to comment on my website, for example, more and more people contributed and started to comment. And the best compliment I can get on my website is when somebody says that I showed a point of view that they never thought about, or they found it very informative, because that's basically what I want to do. I want to inform people.
So I'm gonna wear Molly's hat right now and basically say, Bill, I think what she would say is that it takes a while to be found, literally online. and that you have to be patient. It doesn't happen overnight. It literally does take a year for you to be found, in terms of you being, the authority or the go-to person when it comes to, for example, police, to be found. And that then again, it's the spiders, right? It's the bots who say, oh, this guy knows what he's talking about, because all these people are talking about, Bill Does Police. So let's kind of, Google does its magic with its algorithms and say, hey, this guy knows what's going up, and it just inches you up in terms of the search.
Yeah, it's a culmination of a lot of little things happening over time. And I mean, I like Roland saying all the time, I mean, I spent 6 months saying, how come I can't get on page 1? And one of Roland's comments that sticks with me lately is, what makes you think you deserve to be on page 1? You've only been producing content for a few months when there's been other people out there doing it for 10 years. So why should you already automatically shoot to the top? So once I started realizing that, and just, did my own thing, eventually the success came. And I don't think there's any quick solution to being found. And if you find a quick solution to being found, you're probably not being found by the people you want to be found by anyway.
Now, of course, there are ways to do it.
Yeah.
If you're an AdWords buff, you're going to find ways to get in front of people who want to buy your stuff, and you're going to make some sales. Yeah. And I believe that that's one way to go. But I think that for the people who can't afford to experiment in those environments, it can be really detrimental if you waste your money, or you spend it wrong, or you grab one of the 4 out of 5 people who don't know what they're doing and invest in them while they waste your money for you. And that's one of the most common things happening right now, is the whole world is changing. Not everybody is keeping pace. So what happens is 80% or so of the people offering you services are obsolete in their presentation. And somewhere, maybe not the whole shebang, but somewhere what they're presenting to you could fall apart. And unless they're keeping up, they are not going to help you. And that's something that we really need to pay attention to and focus on, selecting the right services and learning the right stuff and having a pretty good idea in advance before you get started. So get your education. In other words, watch the Smarties show every Saturday for 2 years. So that's one way to do it. Let me see what I said about video campaigns. Ready? Okay, so I'm sharing my screen now. Video campaigns. The first thing I put was emotional impact. That pretty much covers the things that we've been saying in the green room, and also that Roland brought out very vividly, that there's got to be emotional impact. Laughter, crying, anger, something. If you want to get a result from your video, it has to evoke emotion. So if you're not designing your video campaign to potentially evoke an emotional impact, or to produce an emotional impact, you're right off the bat, you're missing the boat. So even if you're doing an explain video and teaching people how to use something, they're going to get to the end of your video and say, oh, that was really good information. So it doesn't have to be that they're sad or laughing. They could just be really thankful that they learned something. That's still an emotional impact. But whatever you're designing has to have emotional impact. Number 2, your campaign strategy. Oh my God. Okay, people think that just producing a number of videos will make sense. And maybe it does. You're supposed to produce 1 blog a week if you're going to be serious about blogging. You got to produce 1 new video a week if you're going to be serious about being a vlogger or produce a series. Or like if you're going to have a Saturday morning marketing Smarties show, you got to do it every week, and you got to be there for the people. So yes, the timing is essential. But you're back to what we're talking about with WeWake, is ask yourself why you're doing it. And you have to focus on answering that question every time you have a show. So why are you here? Why is the Smarties show here? Well, we're here on an education-based environment that also incorporates what the people in the audience knows, and incorporate that to add to our knowledge base. So We literally have an interaction with people who are smart, and we will actually show their comments live if it'll add to the show itself. So it's not about my ego, not about the egos of the people in the room. It's about what we all can learn. So that's my campaign strategy. What's your campaign strategy? And what is it that you're providing as a service of value to the people? Got to ask yourself. The third point that I made was, oh, I really screwed it up, didn't I? Okay. Well, the three I ended up with, campaign strategy was important. It probably should be number 4. Your branding strategy, not so much your campaign strategy, but the branding strategy, because it all gets back around to people can know who you are. And, it's really nice to have a message, but you have to have the additional brought to you by so-and-so. And that is the way people are going to remember you. Providing an emotional impact and providing some kind of emotional response from the people is great, but they want to be asking, who did that video? Where did it come from? Who produced the video? And that'll make a difference too. You got to work out your branding strategy. You can't just produce videos and put them out there. You have to identify who you are. What's Lowell Ann have to say? It must be fun. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's something that is instantaneously a first choice. If you're not having fun, don't do it. If I'm not having fun producing this series on Saturdays, I'm not going to do it. But I tend to have a lot of fun, so here I am. And then the last thing is, it must be educational in design, or education is a really prime subject because you can explain things, tutorials, discussions, collaborations, and get people involved. But the video campaign must educate people. If they give them value and turns the presentation into something that they can take away and say, that was value to me. I would watch. I'm going to be back next week and I'm going to watch again. That's the value that we're trying to produce with video campaigns. So that leads me on to my final subject. You ready? Hang on. Me and my little gadgets, I'm sorry. Okay, we've asked the question, what are the 3 things on 3 other subjects? And here's the 4th one. So that's why we had 4 questions. And here we are. What are the most important things for your internet marketing? Now we're encapsulating, probably we're boiling it down to principles, because obviously in each of the categories that we already covered, there are multiple things in each category, and this category encapsulates all of the other 3. So if you were to narrow it down as best you could, what are the 3 most important things for our internet marketing? Karen, off the top of your head, I'm put you on the spot because we're already over time. What do you think?
Oh, for me, I think for internet marketing, it's still back to that whole idea of building that email list. I mean, you can have internet marketing getting your message out, but you really need to have email addresses to get anything out there, to actually be able to have an audience to get your message. I mean, to me, it's all about email addresses.
So it's really practical functionality in order to keep the conversation succinct and exact with your contacts. The email connection is like the best facility, you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, because social media is one thing in terms of engagement, in terms of getting, brand awareness, getting your information out. But internet marketing to me means more about having that touch point and having it concrete in the way that you can basically have that audience in the back of your pocket.
Let's see what the audience says. We wake. How many parts of viewers' brain are you engaging? Audio, video, sounds, emotion, logic, creativity? That's a lot of things put into one answer. I'm not sure. But it basically brings to mind that people digest information different ways. And so the internet covers all of them, but our outreach, when we talk about what's the most important thing for our internet marketing, we're all going to choose a path, right? In this whole geographical layout, we're going to choose our own path. So what works for some people is not going to work for others and will not be premium. So you have to find the best way to impact people for the subject and for you, for who you are. Because
Well,
I guarantee you there are some people I know that are not going to participate well in social media. I mean, they're not social in person. They're not going to be social in social media. They might need some help.
yeah.
Bill, you had something to say?
Well, I was wondering if Wiwick's comment isn't more focused on video and the fact that when we write text or we do a post, a lot of times our emotion, unless you're a very good writer, you can't purvey all of those things. But in video, all of those things, the logic, the emotion, the sound, all comes through. And I think it presents a more authentic or a more realistic view or point of view of what we're trying to say a lot of times.
Good point. And I think that we can probably conclude, as we have already, that video is going to be incorporated so much into the internet in the very near future, now and in the future, that by 2017, 70% of all communications are going to be video related. Now, whether that means consuming videos that are pre-produced or just being in video connections like we are in this green room, it's going to be all of those things. And that's the importance there. So the fact that we are running this show as a Hangout on Air as opposed to a podcast, to me means that we have actually made the mental leap into the future of what the presentation is going to be from now until 2017. Who knows what it's going to be after that? But right now it is video and it is live streaming, and this is the best. I think that this is the best it gets. So I'll go ahead and expose this now and show you what I thought of for my 3 answers. So what are the 3 most important? What 3 things are most important for your internet marketing? The first thing was giving first. If you get into this business and are not willing to put yourself out there and provide value to the people before you ever consider how am I going to get a return on investment, you're already behind the 8 ball. You could lose the game simply because you're wanting so bad to make a buck while you're trying to provide value to the people, because the people can sense your essence of authority, but also your authenticity and your genuineness. And as soon as they find out you're trying to sell them something, you are no longer believable. So in order to establish your reputation, you have to give first. You have to deliver value. And it must not be attached to, like, now that I've done this, where's my penny? Where's my dollar? And if you pay attention to that, you have a better chance. Bill, let's see what Roland Fulsang says. Offering something of value, not blasting adverts. Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. So there's that. Coming back to this concept, my second point is integrity and reputation. In other words, let's get back to the giving first and delivering value. If you do all of this with integrity first, in other words, you're being your true self, being honest, being reliable, and you focus on these things, it's going to build your reputation that you are reliable, that you are giving, and that you're delivering what you say you're going to deliver, and that you're not focused on the profit, and it's not your presentation is not tainted by this thing as, oh yeah, he's always trying to sell me something. As soon as you've got that, you ruin your reputation and you damage your integrity, and everything else stands upon this. So focus on the integrity and reputation first, giving first, helping people, delivering value, and that's the second part. And the third part, I don't even remember what I wrote. Influencing others' lives. Now, the bottom line is, with your internet marketing, if you're not producing a product that is of value, and if you're not advising people to make good choices, if you're not helping people with the problems that they have, then you're not influencing other people's lives in a positive sense. And I really mean by this statement, influencing others' lives. I'm not talking about causing conflict and influencing them that way. I'm talking about improving lives and making the experience as a whole better with your product and with your service. And even if, I'm an internet marketer, but if somebody calls me up and says, I really need something to eat and I don't have internet right now, I'm trying to find a Taco Bell, I'm going to go on the internet and I'm going to search it out and I'm going to tell them how to get to their Taco Bell. And it has nothing to do with my internet marketing, but it's my way of being able to help a person on the other side. So that's my concept of influencing people's lives. Now, in spite of all this stuff, if people want to argue with anything that I've written in my first 3 segments there, 4 segments, please do. But that's my pitch on that. The wrap up to this day, because we are 20 minutes over. Jesus Christ. Okay, sorry about that. I am actually a Christian, in case you're wondering. But I'm wondering, what are the 2 choices that I was referring to in the title of this episode? The 2 choices that I'm referring to is that you either do or you don't. You either move or you don't. You decide to take action or you don't. Those are your 2 choices. And at some point, you're going to educate yourself, and then finally, you go, okay, I can't wait any longer. I don't know everything, but I've got to do something, and I'm going to start now. And you make a decision, and you choose, other than the choice to sit and be stagnant, you make the choice to move, take action. And those are your 2 choices. But as simple as that. And the last thing is that you have one goal in mind, and I do too, and that is to influence lives, improve the human condition. That's what we do. And that wraps up Smarties for the day. You guys have anything to add?
I was going to say that reminds me of what Yoda said. Do or do not. There is no try.
There is no try. I love that line, and I use it. I purposely don't use it because everything is, oh yeah, Yoda, I've heard that one. And
actually, we just put that comment up as well. I won't highlight it because I said it first.
I know. I just saw that. It just, as you were saying it, he just basically, you guys are like in one mind together.
Yeah, great minds.
Wow, we all came together in a brief moment in time. Anyway, that's my thinking about internet marketing, and covers the 3 points that I would, the 3 subjects other than generic marketing that I would want to cover. It's been a lot of fun, but we're over time and we have to wrap this up. Thank you very much in the audience for making your comments. I think that Bill, our experiment with comment tracking in the methodology that we have has been really a success. I know that is really a job for you. I don't take that lightly at all, but you did a very good job. So thank you very much for your work.
It's my pleasure.
And Karen, thank you for joining us today and adding your vision and your perspective to all of this, because I needed something to ping off of, and I most certainly got to express myself a little bit more than usual. And so thank you very much for all of that. And I hope everyone has a great day.
Vivek just says, what is the one goal, Roland? So you had 4 questions, 3 answers, I guess 1 goal. So what's the goal?
I said it, and I'll repeat it. To improve the human condition.
Okay.
So we're going to wrap it up with that and say goodbye from Saturday Morning Marketing Smarties and the Smarties everywhere. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.